do you do?
Okay. So I am Laura Hammond, and I'm the Senior Director of Retail Talent at Aritzia. Aritzia is a Canadian clothing company, started in 1984 in Vancouver, Canada. And we just opened our 35th store here in the United States in Hawaii yesterday.
Oh, wow, exciting. Um, and tell us how you got your first job in HR. What did that journey look like?
Yeah, so my first job in human resources sort of happened by accident. I'm Canadian, so we call it university. So you might hear me calling college university, but after my first year of university at the University of Toronto, I needed a job during the summer, and went to a temp agency who subsequently placed me as an administrative assistant at one of the largest professional services unions for Canadian government workers. And the rest sort of happened by mistake. From there, I worked with a woman who owned her own labor relations consulting firm. And then I guess my first real career job in human resources was in recruiting, where I was a permanent and hourly recruiter at a temp and permanent placement firm in Ottawa, Canada.
Oh, very interesting. And then, as you start to grow your HR career, what are some of the steps you take to ensure that you're having success along the way? Because many people, they jump into a career and then they decide maybe it's not for them, or it gets a little bit too hard, because ultimately most people change companies. And how do you continue to build on your career from first starting out?
So I think one of the best pieces of advice that I was given early on, and I think that this really applies to, many people coming through school today, is that we're an instant gratification society where we can have things as soon as we want them. I live in New York City, and I could get, whatever delivered in less than an hour. But I think building a successful career takes time, and it takes a lot of intention. And so what I would recommend is building a depth of experience versus a breadth. There's a lot of different subject matter expertise in human resources, and that's what makes it such an interesting career path. But you have, in my view, more currency in an organization if you know a lot about one thing versus a little bit about a lot of things. And so I think for people just starting out, a job as a human resources coordinator or administrator is a great way because you get a little bit of exposure to a lot of different disciplines. And recruiting is also a great way to start, because you have to understand the job. So that's a little bit of org design. Where does it sit within the organization? What does the job do? You need to understand compensation. What do you compensate for such a job? You need to be able to speak to hiring managers and executives and convince them of the right candidate. And so I think that's a great way to start to cut your teeth in human resources.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think a big part of it is just having, I guess you'd call it a minimum viable test in all these different areas of HR, and seeing if you like it before you jump in and really commit to something that's very long term.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And then I was just going to say, and then I'd say if you aspire to be an executive long term, you want to look to build breadth in 2 to 3 different disciplines. And then it's okay to not maybe have, a deep knowledge of everything. But if you have good experience in, I'd say, org design is one, talent management is another, and recruitment or employee relations, those are all really good skill sets to build.
And talking about skill sets, can you dive a little bit deeper into the important skill sets that people in HR need to have in order to succeed, as well as the ones that have really helped you?
Yeah. So I think consultation skills, so learning to listen and ask a lot of questions and be curious, that's really important to understanding context, whether you're recruiting, supporting a a leader in building out their organization, or if you're dealing with an employee relations situation, you really need to ask a lot of questions and get deep and understand the context. So consultation is important, as well as being able to bring a point of view, and the ability to weigh out the risks of any given decision, because in the people business, there, are many paths and answers that you can take, but it's also about minimizing risk to the organization at times. So it's important that you understand the risk benefit of the scenarios that you're recommending, and you're able to sell your vision. But also understanding that ultimately, a lot of time it's the hiring manager or the leader that you're supporting that makes the decision. And so it's important that you bring your best advice, but understanding that you may not always work with leaders that, tackle your plan specifically. They may have their own ideas, and then how can you enable them? The other thing is, really understanding the businesses that I'm supporting. So over the last 10 years, I've worked in retail, and I spent the first month of my career supporting retail in the retail stores. So I believe that we're in the business enablement space in human resources. And so it's really important that you understand the business you're supporting and how your actions as an HR professional ultimately help the organization to reach its key KPIs. And then I think the other important skill that I've learned is how to manage tough conversations, because in human resources, that's especially in the employee relations space, that's something that you're doing a lot. And in HR leadership roles, there's quite a few tough conversations. So that's also very important.
Yeah, I really love some of the stuff that you touched upon, especially like being able to communicate well with stakeholders. I think that's super, super important. And then when we look at some of maybe the tools that you use on a day-to-day basis or weekly basis to help you do your job better, what are some tools that come to mind that you really like?
Well, at the executive level, it's Microsoft Outlook, because it's blocking out your time, seeing where you're spending a lot of time as you're looking back at your week and what you accomplished. But more than that, of course, having frameworks and templates to get you sort of into a rinse and repeat mode with the tasks that you do a lot. So whether that's sort of easy note to file template, or whether that's a series of templated letters that you're using, so that anytime you're dealing with an employee relations situation, you're not just going back, recreating the wheel. And of course, a great HRIS system is very important. And in whatever organization you work for, I think in order to maximize your efficacy, having as many functions automated in the HRIS is really helpful, and having good quality reporting so that you can understand the trends that you're seeing come to life in your business through the numbers.
Very true. I think data is super important today, especially organizations are moving to be more data focused, and it's becoming a must. And this is a little bit of a personal question, but whenever I see someone who's been in a career for a length of time, it's not because they're crazy, it's usually because it makes them happy. So tell us what goes into finding an HR job that you'll enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think, as I said, HR is really a business enablement function. And so for me, it's really important that I feel deeply connected to the purpose of the organization. I think the last two retail organizations that I've been a part of are ones where I've been really lucky to work with a lot of really smart people who've taught me things, and also young people that are just starting out in their career. And I love to support young women and men in finding their calling. So,
hey, that's really cool to hear. And then when we look at the future of human resources, there's many things that come to mind, such as we have different industries. I mean, today looks completely different than it did 10 years ago. We have things like social media, more emphasis on a remote workforce. Where do you see the future of the HR industry going?
Yeah, I mean, I think really in the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be, what does return to work look like? Do we go mostly virtual, or do we go back to office? And when we do, how do we keep people safe? And I think there's questions there around, navigating what your workplace policies are in terms of how people meet, when they meet, are people vaccinated, are they not vaccinated? There's a lot of questions there. And then I think we're going to have to learn to connect and collaborate in different ways. One of the things that I think we're really missing right now in workplaces is those organic meetings that you might have through getting a cup of coffee or making your lunch in the kitchen, or even walking to the restroom and running into somebody. And so one thing that I'm thinking a lot about is in a remote first workplace, which many large employers have announced that they're going to. Spotify, for example, Shopify, that's headquartered out of Canada, that has offices all around the world. Salesforce as well have said that they'll be going to like a blended work model with fewer people attending a physical office daily. So how do we recreate those water cooler moments? And then what is lost by not having in-person interaction, and how do you ensure that your team is efficient and effective? When I think of my team and my career journey as well, I think a lot of what I learned was through osmosis, hearing the way people talked about the business, hearing some of my HR colleagues on the phone with their clients and thinking, oh, I really like the way they did that. And I don't have that anymore because I'm alone. So how do you create those learning opportunities to be able to provide feedback and help members of the team grow if you're not able to be co-located or in meetings together physically often?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And they say like the 5 people in your inner circle is who you become, but if you work from home, it makes that a little bit harder, right?
I guess I'm becoming my dog then, probably. Yeah.
And a lot of people who are watching this video are looking to become an HR executive. Some are looking just to get their first role in HR and make sure it's right for them. And they're going to experience some hurdles in the workplace, whether that has to deal with communication or learning new tools. Can you talk about some of the common HR hurdles that people who are looking to become an HR executive may face and how they can solve them?
Yeah, gosh. Well, I think the reality is that some of the fundamental principles and best practices of human resources are the same, every organization views it a little bit differently. Where, in some organizations, I would say the organization that I'm in now is highly HR dependent, in that our leaders partner with us often because they're not expected to have the 3-foot knowledge of employer policy, whereas in other organizations you might. And the tools that you might use, as well as client expectations, are all very different. So I think some of the hurdles that you might be prepared for is there'll be times where you work with clients that want to make decisions that are bad for the business, or that might pose a certain amount of risk. And that can feel very personal, especially when you're advocating for a solution that you feel is more effective for the organization. So I think in an organization like that, it's how do you find ways to enable what the client wants to do and minimize risk? And I would say, if you're in the employee relations space or HR journalist space, get a great employment law attorney. They really are helpful and can help you figure out ways to do that. I think also, depending on the stage of organization that you're in, you may find that they don't have a great system of tracking data or polling reporting. And so that's another thing that, you can find your people in the organization that may have access to certain data and pull together sort of a rudimentary dashboard to help you guide some of your decision making. And then I think organizations are changing a lot, and they're changing quickly. And so I think it can be sometimes for HR professionals, it's feeling like you always need to catch up or you're on call. And I think I joke that this last year has been the World Series of HR. And I know a lot of colleagues who are feeling really tired right now. So I think there can, that helper fatigue is real. And so how, as a professional, do you build some healthy boundaries around work and life to help you refresh and show up as your best self?
Yeah, I can imagine many people who are looking to get into HR today definitely feel very different today than they would just I guess like a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about people who want to become an HR executive, what are some signs that it may be the right position for them? Because there are many positions in HR, but what are some signs that that position may be a fit?
Yeah. So I think it's a natural leadership sense. Like, are you the person that's always organizing your friends to, when we can see each other again? Are you the person that's like pulling together the group trip or the Friday night out? Were you involved in like student government or sport or things where there was a sense of teamwork and collaboration? Because that's certainly HR. I think great at building relationships, someone that's not afraid to be on and talk to people, because that's a lot. So like an extrovert is a great HR person, because we have to ask a lot of questions and meet a lot of people. And so being able to feel comfortable in groups and settings where you're presenting in front of a group is important. And then I think just like a deep sense of curiosity about people in the world and creativity. And I think that some of the best HR professionals that I've met are people that are not so fixed and rigid to one way of being. There's a lot of compliance pieces in HR. And I think that's why HR sometimes gets a bad rap, that, you're the paper pusher or the person saying, no, you can't do that. The best HR professionals I've met are the people that say, okay, well, if we could do that, how might we do it in a way that is, achieves these objectives, but also minimizes risk to the organization. And so I think being creative and open-minded is really important as well.
Yeah, I think, maybe another way to say it would just be like solution oriented.
Yeah, solution oriented. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just trying to find people who want to become a resource, right, for the company. I think that's
Yeah.
super important.
Yeah.
And then, before we hop, is there any other advice that you have for people who are looking to break into the HR executive role, or they're looking to get their first job in HR with the dream to one day become an HR executive?
Yeah, I would say recruiting is a great place to start. And you can get recruiting experience, as a manager in a retail location, if you're hiring there. So recruiting is great, as I said earlier, because I think it gives you like touches on a wide variety of the HR disciplines that you need to know a little bit about. Networking is great. So are there professional associations or student groups? I think there's a lot of great, HR certificate programs that can give you the foundational knowledge. And then as you work into leadership, as I said, in your early years, it's great to gain experience across a couple of disciplines. And when I say experience, I think like 4 to 5 years, maybe in talent acquisition, and then another skill set, and then seek opportunities to mentor others, to demonstrate your leadership capability. I think the best leaders are a testament to their leadership is not, what they personally did. It's the team that they leave behind and how they enabled others to grow. And then seek mentors. And that's a really great thing about LinkedIn is there's a lot of people who are willing to connect and sort of give free advice and be, connect digitally now. So mentorship, I think seeking a mentor and learning about their leadership journey and how they might suggest you approach, your career and your personal organization is something that's I found really helpful.
And talking about reaching out, is there a way that people can reach out to you? Does LinkedIn work if the students who are watching want to get in touch?
Yeah, please connect to me with LinkedIn. I'm Laura Hammond on LinkedIn. I've got a flowered dress on in the picture, so you won't be able to miss me.
Well, Laura, thank you for being here today to do this interview. I really appreciate it, and we'll rock and roll from here.
Yes, great. Thank you.